for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Granquist?
Here.
Langy?
Here.
Merrill?
Here.
Dahlketter?
Here.
Murin? Here. Jackson?
Here.
Faust?
Here.
File?
Here.
Okay, we look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'm abstaining from voting on the consent agenda because of my involvement with Oktoberfest.
Okay. No further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative. Councilmember Dahlketter abstaining. Motion carries.
Look for a motion to approve the full agenda.
So moved, Your Honor. Second.
Motion second. No further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative.
Okay, that takes us to public hearings and related action. Part of the council agenda, item number 31 would open this public hearing to comply with the provisions of NRS 18-1755 to acquire property at approximately 307 North Victory Road, Norfolk, Nebraska. And to kick off this discussion, Lyle, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I've already signed in, so we're good there. This first agenda item is for the purchase and/or sale of land in the 300 block in North Victory Road so that Stephen can put in a retention pond. And we'll have a drain pipe that goes along the west side of the property located at 307 North Victory, and it'll connect with city property to the south. It also has some components in there that when the remonstrance period is complete, the property owner is going to buy a small parcel of land back from the city that contains trees on it, and has valued those trees on the north side pretty significantly. So we were able to work with them successfully and get this purchase agreement put together. If you have any specific questions about it, I'll do my best to answer them.
Questions for Lyle?
When this is done, then we can continue on with this retention pond.
Okay. For sake of the public record, can we talk a little bit more about why the pond is needed in this area?
This retention pond is going to be designed to handle a substantial event for that drainage basin that's up in that area that would extend to the east side of Victory Road, as well as the newer developments that are occurring on the west side of Victory Road, specifically the Legacy Bend area and some of those existing developments that would be north of Legacy Bend as well. So it's a fairly substantial drainage feature for us. Part of what drives that is we're at the bottom side of that drainage basin. We're up against the levee. Should we ever be in a heavy flow within the levee, and we received a substantial rain event within the community, we wouldn't have the drainage structures into the levee would be closed, and so this would allow us to hold and store that significant event or that rain event until the levee would subside and that drainage could dissipate.
So I wouldn't plan on fishing too much there because it's going to be dry 99%
It'll be
of the
dry.
time.
Yeah, it will be a dry retention pond.
But when water comes shooting down where it's backing up against the neighbors now, that'll make it flow and
Yeah.
eliminate that?
We'll be working on that. We've been working with the developers of Legacy Bend to address that issue here as they start grading this fall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lyle. Steve? This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to make comment on this issue can do so now. Okay, seeing no one, I'll move to close the hearing and move to item number 32 and look for a motion to consider approval of an agreement with Daniel and Nancy Moore to purchase 1.32 acres of land generally located on the west portion of 307 North Victory Road in the amount of $23,760 with a closing date on or before September 1st, 2018. Said agreement also contains provisions for the sale of city property to Dan and Nancy Moore of 0.33 acres adjacent to the north side of property located at 307 North Victory Road for the amount of $5,940 in closing on or before November 1st, 2018.
I'll make the motion, Your Honor.
Second.
A motion second. Lyle or anyone else, anything to add? Any more to this?
No, it's pretty much the same.
Okay. Any questions or discussion, council? Okay. Seeing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Item number 33, would look for motion to consider ordinance number 5557, authorizing the transfer of ownership of city property generally located adjacent to 307 North Victory Road as part of the agreement for the purchase of property currently owned by Daniel and Nancy Moore.
Your Honor, I'd move consideration of ordinance 5557.
Second.
Motion second. Again, moving forward on the transaction spoken about previously. Any further discussion on this, council? If none, short title, please, Beth.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska to authorize the sale of city property, to provide the terms of sale and authorize the mayor to execute and deliver a quitclaim deed to the property, to provide for a remonstrance to said sale as provided by law, to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5557 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I move to suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5557 on second, third.
Second that, Your Honor.
Okay, motion second to suspend the rules. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5557 carries on second and third.
Okay, that moves us to item number 34. I will open this public hearing to comply with the provisions of NRS 18-1755 to acquire property located generally in the 300 block of South 7th Street, Norfolk, Nebraska. And again, Lyle, would you kick off this discussion for us, please?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, this is another purchase agreement, a swap actually, for land that's city-owned. If you can envision 6th and Madison, southwest corner, there's a parking lot there, city-owned parking lot, that's going to be swapped, traded with the Orphan Grain Train for land in the general neighborhood, but in the 300 block of South 7th Street, between the road and the rail. So the east side of 7th Street, 300 block, South 7th. Okay? So if you have that in mind, there's some representatives from the Orphan Grain Train that are here that'll be up to talk in just a second, so I don't want to ruin the surprise for you, but that's generally what's taking place. However, item number 35 and number 36 are being requested to be tabled till the next meeting. So we move forward with the public hearing at this point, and number 35 and 36 will be addressed at the next meeting. Do you have any questions about this? Otherwise, I'll turn the floor
Okay.
over to the Orphan Grain Train.
Thank you, Lyle. Don't all rush forward at the same time. This is-
My name is Grant Schmidt. I'm the vice president with Orphan Grain Train, and I was just asking permission from President Wilkie that I could come up here rather than him, so that's what I'm doing. Just to so that you understand what this is our plan is to take the old dairy building that Mateo's owned at this point. We have purchased that, and in the next 2 weeks, we will be leveling that whole property. And the parking lot that sits adjacent is important to us because we need a little bit of that portion of property to also help with our receiving of products that we currently do, where we also ship out of, so that we can separate those two in the future, so we don't have problems with people donating and with our shipment that are going out, so we can eliminate that problem. But it also gives us the opportunity to use that as parking lot for future expansion of volunteers and help with the facility that has actually become too small for us now. And we can also use that property to include Mercy Meals, to move them where they're currently at, so that we can have a future location in Orphan Grain Train for the next 25 or whatever, 50 years, that can really allow for the expansion and the growth of our organization, and also to make it more accommodating for volunteers and people to work. And that's what we're planning to do with that property. So if you have any questions, we knew the property we currently have helps with the beautification plan of the city, and so if we could swap that, it just made perfect sense for us. So that's what our move is.
I think you said it all. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. This is a public hearing, so anyone else wishing to make comment can do so now. Any questions, council? From what I've seen and heard, it seems this was a sensible trade that allows the Orphan Grain Train to consolidate the campus, its growing campus, and create efficiencies in doing so, and also gives the city a chance to create some congruity between Omaha Avenue and Norfolk Avenue with the potential walkway. So I think things have lined up in a way that is good for us both. We have had a request, as Lyle noted, to table the next two items related to this issue. And so if there's no other comments from the public on this, we can move forward to items number 35 and 36. Further questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. And for items, can I do 35 and 36? Okay, we'll approach these separately. Look for a motion to consider approval of an agreement with Orphan Grain Train, a Nebraska nonprofit corporation, where the city shall transfer to Orphan Grain Train Incorporated title to the property generally located on the southwest corner of 6th Street and Madison Avenue in consideration for transfer of title to the Orphan Grain Train property generally located on the west side of 7th Street between Phillip Avenue and Park Avenue, with the date of closing to be on or before the 12th day of October 2018.
So move, Your Honor.
Table. Motion to table, then you're saying, right?
Yes.
Because he just read the agenda item, which was approval of the agreement, but you're moving to table it.
That's a motion.
Motion to table, yes.
Okay. Motion to table and second. Any further discussion, council? Seeing none, please vote.
All council members present, voting in the affirmative, motion to table carries.
Item number 36 would look for a motion. Consider ordinance number 5558, authorizing the transfer of ownership of city property located at the southwest corner of Madison Avenue and 6th Street to Orphan Grain Train Incorporated in return for the transfer of ownership of the property generally located on the west side of 7th Street from West Phillip Avenue to West Park Avenue.
Your Honor, I make a motion to table ordinance number 5558.
Second. Motion to table and a second. Any further discussion? None, please vote.
All council members present, voting in the affirmative, motion to table ordinance 5558 carries.
Okay, that moves us to item number 37. We'll open this public hearing at the request of James McKenzie to consider a zoning change from A, Agricultural District, to RR, Rural Residential District, on property addressed as 2402 East Norfolk Avenue. And Val, would you kick off this discussion for us?
Yes, thank you. This public hearing is, like you said, a request from Ag to RR. It is actually a quarter section or thereabouts, just on the Stanton County line on East Norfolk. It's kind of catty corner from Eastern Heights there. This zone change is not for the whole quarter section. It is just for approximately 6 acres of it. And if this zone change passes on all 3 readings tonight, then it is on the agenda for a final plat at Planning Commission tomorrow morning for just that 6-acre piece.
Okay, thank you, Val. Questions for Val? This is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to make comment at this time can do so.
Good evening. I'm Dick Johnson, and I'm representing Jim McKenzie on this proposed zoning change. The property is 6 acres. On the aerial, I'm seeing basically there's a house back about where the little hand thing is. And Mr. McKenzie would like to split that out. The actual property line of the proposed subdivision will go up the east side of the driveway and tie into Benjamin Avenue. I don't remember exactly, but I think there's only about 40 or 50 feet of frontage along Benjamin Avenue. Like I said, it's an existing house. If you look at the area to the northwest is the Eastern Heights and Sunrise subdivisions. There's going east, there's some acreages, I believe, farther east, and then over 1 mile east on the Stanton County side, there's acreages on both sides of the north-south road running south from Benjamin Avenue. We think this would be a pretty good fit for the area. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Is it Benjamin Avenue or Norfolk Avenue?
Norfolk Avenue. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. This is a public hearing, so anyone else wishing to make comment?
Mary Hawes. I have a question. He's singling out one portion, is that correct? What the house itself is standing around, that is the 6 acres? Or will this be applicable to other portions of the land at a future date also?
Val, can you address that?
The zone change request tonight to RR from Ag is only the 6 acres surrounding the house that is potentially being platted in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to make comment can do so. No one else? Planning Commission report, please, Beth.
The Norfolk Planning Commission held a public hearing on July 17, 2018, at the request of James McKenzie to consider a zoning change from Ag Agricultural to RR Rural Residential on property addressed as 2402 East Norfolk Avenue. The Planning Commission recommends approval on a 7-0 vote.
Okay, with that, I will close the hearing and move to item number 38. Looking for a motion to consider ordinance number 5559, approving a zoning change from A Agricultural District to RR Rural Residential District on property addressed as 2402 East Norfolk Avenue.
Your Honor, I'd move consideration of ordinance number 5559 on first reading.
Second?
Motion second. Any further discussion on this? None. Short title, please, Beth.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Madison County, Nebraska, amending the zoning district map of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska, providing when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and providing for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5559 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I move we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5559 on second and third.
Second?
Okay, motion and second to suspend the rules. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5559 carries on second and third.
Moves us to our regular agenda, item number 39. Look for a motion to consider approval to award a contract to Rutchins Construction Incorporated from Tilden, Nebraska for the Legacy Bend First Edition and Victory Road Detention Cell Improvements Project for sections A, B, C, and D totaling $1,080,613.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for consideration of approval.
Second.
Okay. And Steve, can you give some background on this, please?
Sure, what's before you here is the paving district and which includes water and sewer, and then the detention cell bid as well. That was all bid under one contract. We got two bids, Rutchins and Penrose, as discussed. Competitive bids from both, about $48,000 different between the two. This would be for Phase 1 of the Legacy Bend project, situated between the levee and Victory Road. We'll be able to answer any questions you might have relative to the bid results and recommend approval.
Steve, how many bids did we send out? Was it just the
How many
two?
plan holders did we have? I don't have the answer to that. We don't specifically send out, we contact them. If they request them, we'll send them to them, and we track bid holders.
Okay.
And I don't know how many bid holders we had.
Right. Right.
Thanks, Steve. Any further questions? on this bill? Discussion. Seeing none, I would ask for your vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Okay, item number 40, look for a motion to consider ordinance number 5555, approving a zoning change from R1 Single Family Residential District to R3 Multiple Family Residential District on property generally located a quarter mile north of the intersection of South Victory Road and East Omaha Avenue. As a note, ordinance number 55 passed on first reading at the July 2nd City Council meeting and on second reading at the July 16th City Council meeting. And given that there is
Your Honor, I'd move consideration.
discussion, look for motion, please.
Your Honor, I'd move consideration of ordinance 5555 on third reading.
Second?
And as started to say, there's no discussion allowed on final reading, so I'd ask for your vote, council.
Voting in favor of ordinance 5555 on third reading, council members Granquist, Langy, Merrill, Murin, Jackson, Faust, File. Voting against the motion, council member Dahlketter. Motion carries. Ordinance number 5555 carries on third reading.
Item number 41, I look for a motion to consider ordinance number 5560, amending section 24-164 to remove restricted parking on the east side of North 27th Street from West Side Plaza Drive to Prospect Avenue.
I'd offer consideration ordinance number 5560.
Second.
And Chief Meisner, would you kick off the discussion on this, please?
Your Honor and members of the council, back in May of 2012, the City Council passed an ordinance revision restricting the parking on the east side of the street there in that two-block area in order to accommodate what we thought would be additional travel or traffic traveling through there because of the North 25th Street construction project that went on for some time. It was anticipated that that would be placed back on there, however, it's just never come about. The police division was contacted by one of the residents who live in that area, asked if we could consider putting parking back on, said it's kind of an inconvenience when her family comes over, that type of thing. So we looked at it, we checked with the property owners and the residents who have property in that two-block area. They either were in favor of doing it or really didn't care one way or the other. And so that's why we would recommend to you that we would go ahead and pass this ordinance and allow parking back on that two-block stretch.
Makes sense. Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Thank you. Okay. If no further discussion on this, short title, please, Beth.
An ordinance of the City of Norfolk, Nebraska to amend Section 24-164 of the official city code to remove the parking restriction on the east side of North 27th Street from West Side Plaza Drive to Prospect Avenue, to provide when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect, and to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form.
Please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5560 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I would move that we suspend the rules and pass ordinance 5560 on second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second to suspend the rules. No further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5560 carries on second and third.
Item number 42, I'd look for a motion to consider resolution number 2018-39, authorizing approval of an ordinance creating sidewalk district number 2018-1, 15th Street, providing for construction of sidewalks along 15th Street from Park Avenue to Hayes Avenue, and a portion of Hayes Avenue extending west and east of 15th Street.
Your Honor, I'd offer resolution 2018-39 for consideration.
Second.
Steve, can you give us some background on this, please?
So this is part of the gap paving that we're doing on 15th, as well as Georgia Avenue and eventually Square Turn Boulevard as well. Of those three projects, Georgia is structured as a paving district, and so we can do the sidewalks within the paving district. Gap paving, you cannot do the sidewalks in, and so we're creating these so that we can do the sidewalks in conjunction with that project. The estimates that we've done and the assessments that we've shared with those homeowners along there, those residents, included the cost of this as well. So this would basically complete the sidewalk in that block from Park to Hayes and 15th to 14th. So it'd complete that block of sidewalks, and then as well it'd put sidewalks on the west side of 15th and connect those in.
Very good. It's a project, long time coming, and so this allows us to get it all done as we go about it. So, thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments, council? Okay, seeing none, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, resolution 2018-39 is adopted.
Item number 43, I would look for a motion to consider ordinance number 5561, creating sidewalk district number 2018-1, which provides for construction of a sidewalk along 15th Street from Park Avenue to Hayes Avenue and a portion of Hayes Avenue extending west and east of 15th Street.
Your Honor, I move for consideration of ordinance number 5561.
Second?
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion on this, council? Seeing none, short title, please, Beth.
An ordinance creating sidewalk district number 2018-1 in the city of Norfolk, Nebraska, describing where said sidewalk district will be, ordering the construction of sidewalks therein, and ordering the publication of the ordinance in pamphlet form.
Okay, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5561 carries on first reading.
Your Honor, I move we suspend the rules and pass ordinance number 5561 on second and third reading.
Second.
Motion second to suspend the rules. No further discussion, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, ordinance 5561 carries on second and third.
Finally, item number 44, look for motion to consider approval of change order number 7 with Houseman Construction for the library expansion and renovation project resulting in a net decrease of $15,078.94.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Motion second. And Steve, do you get honors on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna need some help from Jim McKenzie on this one. He's been a little more in touch with some of these last changes that are coming through, but this is a change order. You gotta get down here. It's a deduction, total deduction of about $15,000, a little over $15,000. There was a substantial correction in there for a signage item. We took $40,000 out for that item. The other changes in there are kind of small changes in the contract, just kind of due to the working with the contractor through the process. I don't know, Jim, do you have anything more specific to number, that $40,000? That's really the significant item in here.
No, those were basically just a lot of little items. The bigger item was painting the clear story area that was not included in the contract, so they did give that a fresh coat of paint, and then some soffit adjustments in the community room that needed to be made to accommodate the blinds, and how they were factored into that room. But other than that, just a lot of little items to finish up the project.
Question, Jim? Do you, or Steve, so the seating that's occurred here now and is being, is going to grow here shortly, that was part of the contract, I believe?
Correct.
Okay. I had just picked up on a couple of change orders that were rejected that were talking about some landscaping stuff, and I thought maybe that was one of them, so.
No.
Okay.
Are we projecting any other change orders on this project?
There would be a final change order of any final corrections coming through, but this substantially makes most of those. We've got a couple other things out there with the book drop we're dealing with, and we're anticipating that most of that work is going to be picked up by either the contractor or the designer, related to design deficiencies or errors and omissions. And they've indicated so. But we're still not 100% done and ready to close it out, so there's a potential for minor changes yet.
Thank you. Okay. Any other discussion? None, please vote.
All council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
That concludes this meeting of the Norfolk City Council. Evening.